Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and X-Men issue number 22. You know, I sat here and tried to convince myself that if I didn't read this issue, and I sure as hell didn't review this issue, maybe, just maybe, the story wouldn't actually end, and we wouldn't be moving over to Hickman's run. I'm not upset at the idea of Hickman's run, it's just that this book has been so good. That I really just didn't want it to end. Well, lucky me, it didn't. Oh, we'll get into that in just a moment. First, we got to talk about who made this book. We got Matthew Rosenberg as the writer, Salvador La Roca with David Messina doing the art, Guru FX doing the colors, VC's Joe Caramagna on letters, Wiles Portacio and Eric Arcianega doing the cover art, Jay Anceletto and Rain Barretto doing the variant cover, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are the creators of the mother effin' X-Men. We Have Always Been, part 6, and this is the final book. That little noise that you may or may not have heard in the background is another video finishing its not editing thing, the rendering, there we go. So that'll happen with this video once I'm ready to edit and render it also. The point is, there was a bit of talking in the beginning, and Danny goes and has herself a conversation with Scott Summers, and it's a very enlightening conversation, and we have to understand that Danny Moonstar and Scott are two entirely different characters, so they're going to disagree strongly. They both bear a huge, heavy burden. They both allow their decisions to weigh heavily on them, and they're both willing to take responsibility for the actions of others under their charge, even when they're not necessarily under their charge. Scott Summers dealt with a lot in this story run. He dealt with a whole hell of a lot. It was rough, man. It was a rough couple of weeks, and Wolverine called him out in the previous issue, and good. I'm glad that Wolverine did. Scott's just got to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And he does, just like he deals with everything, by just feeling it, letting it run through his veins, but still fighting on. There was very, very quickly, there turned into an amazing battle where a bunch of new golden sentinels that were a part of the programming of the Warlock program, the techno-organic virus, all that good stuff. And there was a really sad moment in here with Hope Summers. And, you know, I'm still mad at her for shooting at her granddad's eye. Still really bothered her for that. Especially when later on somebody sees Scott and says, "Oh my God, what have they done to you?" No, that was the kid. Because, yeah. The fight in here was insane, and it actually felt like everything was going to end. I was waiting. I'm thinking to myself, literally, the only person who's probably going to survive this is Wolverine. And then we're going to have some kind of a reboot or something where everything's going to change. This story can really be summed up. Like, make sure that after you're finished reading this story that you go back to the first page and you look at the conversation that Emma and Scott have with each other. When there's going to be some people who love Emma over Jean Grey, but Jean does appear in this. After, of course, she completely obliterates a Sentinel. In my headcanon, she did it single-handedly. And she shows up through a plume of smoke and flame, and she walks right up to Scott and walks past Logan, who's like, "Damn, she still doesn't see me." And right past Emma, who's like, "Does she not see me?" and walks right up and kisses Scott. And it was a damn good feel-good moment. Wow. Rosenberg, you know, he's got his letter at the end, which I expected there was going to be a letter at the end. Just had to write in little tiny print, right? Damn it. But I'm happy for the guy that he gets to go back to reading the X-Men as a fan, as opposed to writing it with that burden of these probably the most important characters in all of comic book history. When you just stop and you really think about it, what saved comic books? The X-Men. You know, there's no one character more than all the others. There is none. You can't say Wolverine or Scott or anybody over anybody else. This isn't like a Spider-Man where one character is really the linchpin for everything. You can rotate out the characters and just have characters that people are straight falling in love with. But when you have this many amazing characters together, like the X-Men really were the key to Marvel's success, you know? So whoever runs them is going to have more scrutiny on them than anybody else. And I think that Rosenberg handled that in an absolutely amazing way, where everybody else was pretty much just, not unanimously, nothing's unanimous, but where everybody else was kind of saying, oh, I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with that. There's not too many people who are upset over the X-Men. I know there were some, and they're going to speak up, and your opinion is perfectly validated. Before you even make it, it's validated. It's cool. But I think that he handled this really well, considering that he didn't have a choice. This story had to be ended. It's not just the idea of his run. The X-Men had to be ended so that Mr. Jonathan Hickman could come along and take things over, just usurp everything from everybody. There were some amazing turns in this run, and look, realistically, it's not just this great run that Rosenberg had, that all these people involved in. He names the people like I named the people. He just adds editors also. I can't add everybody in every review, but this is going to go down as one of the most memorable, in a good way, in a favorable light, one of the most memorable X-Men runs ever, where you really get to see the X-Men at their lowest. You get to see these X-Men as though they were in World War III, and we've always talked about that before, but this wasn't like, 198 X-Men are left and they're facing extinction. This is like, oh yeah, the people in this room were pretty much all the mutants that are left over. We've never seen that before. You could say 2 issues of Days of Future Past, but come on, man. Days of Future Present? Past. This was something entirely different. And there was a goal that he didn't necessarily have in mind, but that was pretty much given onto him. He had to take this goal. He even addresses the Danny thing. It's a laugh. It's a quick little thing, like, okay, clearly somebody made a mistake, because he's just like, he mentions it. It's like, I'm very self-aware of this mistake. Somehow. No stone was left unturned. So you know what? Honestly, man, this was a great run. This was a fantastic run. And the guy deserves his moment in the spotlight. He deserves that bow. This was fantastic. And wow. It's over. We're waiting for Hickman now. I don't know what happened throughout the whole, just as in brevity, I don't know what happened in the rest of the X-Men comic books, the Age of X-Man comic books, or in the Ed Brisson-led X-Force books, but I'm going to go back, I'm going to check those out. I'll probably put them all together with these stories in a spotlight and story to see how we go from X-Men to Hickman. I thought it was clever, but I also came up with it on the spot. Anyway, guys, I'm done. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.